Caitlin Clark's first game in the European League wasn't just a debut, it was an explosion. The buzz around her name had been loud enough to rattle windows back in the States, but what she did on her first outing overseas left fans on both sides of the Atlantic jaw-dropped. There were whispers, there were expectations, and then there was Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin didn't just meet those expectations. She packed them up in her suitcase and checked them as oversized baggage. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. The atmosphere in the arena that night was electric, almost as if everyone sensed something extraordinary was on the verge of happening. Clark had been the talk of the offseason, with her decision to test the waters of the European League stirring up conversations, debates, and predictions. Some said she was chasing a new challenge, while others hinted she just wanted to try the pasta. But whatever the reasons, she arrived in Europe like she was stepping into her own movie, and that film's opening scene was a blockbuster. From the first whistle, she moved with a sort of easy confidence that only comes from someone who knows exactly what they're about to do. Clark didn't warm up into the game, she ignited it. She had the ball in her hands with the swagger of a kid who brought their own ball to the playground and knew they weren't leaving without their name on the wall. Dribble by dribble, pass by pass, she turned an ordinary game into a one-woman highlight reel. The scoreboard almost seemed to have a personal beef with her. Every time it blinked to update, it was because Caitlin had just made it do so. And it wasn't just about the points she piled on, though there were plenty. Every shot seemed like a statement. There were the casual three-pointers from far beyond the arc, like she was trying to see if the backboard would get bored and leave. There were no-look passes that sliced through defenses like butter, making her teammates blink twice before they even knew they had the ball. It was like Caitlin was playing her own game within the game, a step ahead of everyone else on the floor. It wasn't long before fans online began losing their minds, filling social media feeds with clip after clip of her jaw-dropping moves. The commentators struggled to keep up with her highlight parade. It was like trying to count lightning strikes during a thunderstorm. And the fans, while they weren't just thrilled, they were borderline hysterical. WNBA fans, already starved for their next fix of basketball brilliance, flocked to the highlights, their fingers hovering over the replay button like addicts who couldn't get enough. By the time the final whistle blew, the numbers Clark had racked up were absurd. Records that had stood in the European League like tall monuments were now rubble. Caitlin had casually strolled in, sipped her pre-game coffee, and then knocked them down like dominoes. She broke records that were supposed to be unbreakable, set marks that seemed straight out of a video game, and left statisticians frantically rewriting their spreadsheets. But it wasn't just about the statistics. Numbers can tell a story, but they can't capture the sheer disbelief on people's faces as she made one impossible shot after another. The reactions came in waves, as if every fan watching from their couch or halfway across the globe suddenly felt the need to share in the amazement. WNBA fans weren't just proud, they were in full-on "I told you so" mode, pointing out to anyone within earshot that Caitlin's brilliance wasn't confined to American soil. It was almost like a victory lap for them, a validation that one of their brightest stars was now shining just as brightly overseas. Clark's performance wasn't merely a matter of breaking records, it was about breaking expectations, redefining what a debut could look like. It's not every day that a player steps into a league for the first time and immediately leaves a trail of historical milestones in their wake. It was as if she had looked at the European League record book and decided it needed some rewriting, a little Caitlin Clark flair. And if anyone thought she'd crumble under the pressure, they clearly hadn't been paying attention. Caitlin played with the same fire and fearlessness she'd shown during her college and WNBA days, the kind that says, "Pressure? Never heard of her." It wasn't arrogance, just a quiet certainty, a deep-down knowing that she was built for these moments. She even had this subtle smirk she'd flash after a big play, like she was sharing an inside joke with the rim. There were so many standout moments, it was tough to keep track. There was the buzzer-beating three that silenced a roaring crowd, the coast-to-coast dribble that left defenders looking like they were wearing cement shoes, and the one-handed pass that almost dared her teammate not to catch it. Every move had a purpose, a rhythm, a kind of musicality that left fans and opponents alike wondering what on earth they were witnessing. What's perhaps most impressive is how seamlessly Clark seemed to adapt to the new league style. The European League, known for its tactical play and strategic approaches, wasn't supposed to be a stage for freelancing and flashy plays, but Caitlin had other ideas. She managed to blend her dynamic style with the calculated precision of the league, turning the game into her own personal chess match. And just like that, the critics who doubted her ability to transition smoothly from the WNBA to Europe were rendered mute. She played like someone who was completely at ease, as if she had been there for years rather than minutes. It was hard not to laugh at the situation if you were a WNBA fan. For years, skeptics had wondered if the league's players could hold their own on an international stage. Clark, however, didn't just hold her own. She carried it on her back, walked around with it for a bit, and then threw it down like she was spiking a volleyball. Fans back home felt like they were watching their sibling graduate college and ace the commencement speech. The pride was palpable. But what does this mean for the future? Caitlin's record-breaking debut is bound to have a ripple effect. It's one thing to break records. It's another thing entirely to do it in such a dominant fashion in your first outing. The European League isn't just rethinking its strategy. It's now wondering how many more highlights it will have to endure at her hands. You could almost feel the collective sigh of future opponents when they watched the replay, knowing they'd soon be the next ones in line to face the inevitable Clark storm. For Caitlin, this debut wasn't just a victory. It was a statement, a loud, clear, "Hello, I'm here, and good luck keeping up." Her move overseas could very well encourage other top-tier WNBA players to follow suit, exploring the idea of taking their talents beyond American borders. After all, if Caitlin Clark could not only compete but dominate right off the bat, it opens the door for others to consider the same path. And of course, there was the fun of watching her play with her signature intensity. Caitlin's not one to shy away from letting her emotions show on the court. She plays with an almost joyful competitiveness, like someone who genuinely loves the grind and the challenge. She celebrates big plays with fist pumps and quick grins, and even her mistakes are followed by an eye roll and a muttered word or two, as if she's having a conversation with the basketball gods themselves. In one particularly humorous moment during her debut, Clark casually sank a deep three-pointer from way beyond the arc, glanced over at the opposing bench and gave a shrug as if to say, "Well, that happened." It was a perfect microcosm of her playing style. Confident but not overbearing, aware of her skill yet still able to find the fun in the absurdity of it all. Fans watching online immediately turned the clip into a meme, spreading it like wildfire with captions like, "Just Caitlin being Caitlin." Her teammates, too, seemed to feed off her energy. There's something infectious about playing with someone who's not only good, but seems to genuinely enjoy what they're doing. She made no secret of celebrating her teammates' successes, too, sharing high fives and encouragements like confetti after a win. It's easy to see how her presence on the court lifts the spirits of everyone around her, and that camaraderie is likely to be a cornerstone of her success in this new league. At the end of the game, as Caitlin walked off the court, the crowd gave her a standing ovation. Even the home fans who had watched their team get dismantled couldn't help but applaud what they had just witnessed. Clark, never one for prolonged displays of emotion, gave a quick nod, a half smile, and disappeared into the tunnel with all the poise of someone who'd done this 100 times before. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.